Hello, and welcome back to our podcast, Healing Our Community with Dr. Ray and Jean. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean.
And today we're talking about, on episode 10, power versus force. There's a lot of power versus force going on in the world today.
Yes, there is.
And specifically, we're talking about true influence in relationships and how power and force relates to our relationships with people.
Well, it's a relationship within yourself that impacts all your relationships.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. As a reminder, this podcast is live every Wednesday at 12:15. This is specifically broadcasted to Delta County, and it is open to any comments or questions or any suggestions on any topics you'd like to hear more about. You guys can, if you're watching on Facebook, you can just put a little comment or question, and we will see that. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, the same thing applies. So just drop a little line. Just say hi. Let us know that you're out there listening. Power versus force. I think we should talk about that, huh?
Let's jump into that.
I think that's really what the topic is
about. So think about
today.
the difference of power and force. What have you learned about that? What have you heard about that? And then we're going to go over some of the characteristics of each of those and how they're different. Mm-hmm. So if you think about power is internal. Power is something that you can do. Force is external. Force is something outside of you.
Should I put the list up?
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay.
So power literally means you have a choice. You can choose something. So this is a really important piece, because if you ask yourself the question, what can I do? And you don't have an answer, you are not in power. You are in force. Force is when we try to control something external to us, or when something external to us is trying to control us. So if you're trying to figure out what other people can do, that is when you are in force, or if someone else is trying to tell you what to do. Being in power means you have to take responsibility for the outcome of your choice. When you are in force, you are trying to, you can blame people, or people can blame you. So whenever you take responsibility for something you don't choose, you will get blamed. All of us have had that experience when we try to control something outside of ourselves, and then it blows up in our face, and we're the ones that have to take because we took responsibility, we get the blame.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate and kind of go back to that first one, and that it's internal power. It's like not this external power. When we're talking about force, we're talking about external force against someone or towards someone.
Right.
Right.
So if you're back in power, you have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined to follow through with the choices that you made. And when you are in force, you try to make up rules. So you think about that. If you are in a conflict with another person and you say, okay, from now on, we're going to do this, that rule will for sure get violated, because you're not in the place of power. You're not actually resolving the thing that's happening. Right. And so you're seeing this in the world, right? There's a lot of force going on. There's rules trying to be made. The rules keep getting broken, and other people aren't behaving and following the rules.
The rule of thumb of human beings is that if you tell another person what to do, they are going to rebel against it.
Absolutely. So whenever you find yourself making up rules, you're in control. You're trying to control something outside of you, or even yourself. You might even have done this with yourself, like, okay, on Monday, I'm going to eat this food, or I'm going to exercise this day. And you're making up these rules, and you probably aren't going to do it, as opposed to being in discipline, which you hold yourself accountable for. And you don't try to how many of us have done this? We've bought a gym membership and then we don't go. That's like, we're hoping if I do that, then I'll go.
We continue to pay for it every month.
And then we don't discipline ourselves and go. I can't see what it says under that. What does it say?
It's let go and hold on.
Yeah, when you're in power, that's the tough part. You have to let go of that external thing. You have to let go of
external expectations.
Yeah. And that's the reason we don't like to do that is because it's vulnerable. We could get hurt. And the truth is we're already getting hurt. It's a false sense of security that we do when we try to hold on and we don't want to let go.
I think this is where people get the word boundaries mixed up, right? Where they think that setting boundaries means holding expectations over other people.
Right.
Right. And that's part of that rules thing, right? I am going to hold expectations over you, which, as we said, if you try to hold expectations over someone else, chances are they're going to let you down.
For sure.
Right. Whereas boundaries really are about holding those expectations for yourself. It's that self-discipline and then being able to let go of those external expectations of what you are expecting other people to do, and that you are going to take responsibility for your choice in setting those boundaries, and you are going to have the discipline of enforcing those boundaries.
Right. So setting a boundary says, I don't like when this happens. And when this happens, this is what you can expect from me.
Right.
It doesn't say, don't let that thing happen. We don't have that kind of force, control. If we're in power and we're setting appropriate boundaries, we're saying, this is what I'm going to do when this happens.
Right. And force, if you are setting a boundary and the expectations on other people, you have to hold on to that, that expectation. And that also puts you in a position of having to monitor and enforce and kind of be on top of the other person to make sure that they are meeting those expectations.
Right. And so also, in this idea of letting go, if you pay attention to your thinking and your thinking is mad about what those people out there are doing, then you are in force. You are not in power. And when you're in that place, you don't allow the frequency of the new to come in to solve this situation. You're trying to stay controlling the old ways, and you're in that lower frequency that created the problem to begin with. And if you just let yourself kind of sit in that and go, you know what, I'm not going to think about this for a few minutes. I'm going to try to relax and let my stress chemicals kind of subside. Then you're going to get some better thoughts. You're going to get some ideas about something you actually can do, as opposed to how you could potentially control someone else so they don't hurt you.
We had a question that just came in here. It's, is disciplining your child in power or force, and what would it depend on?
I love that question.
Yeah, it's a great question because it does depend.
Yes. So, depending on the age of a child.
If they're a teenager.
Right. Depending on the age of a child, what you want to teach them is to be powerful, to be in a place of power. And so when we help set up we still have to set the boundaries of that because they're children. But what we want to do, we don't want to say, if I'm just going to take your cell phone away. Right. And I like the example of, like, if you're driving down the street and the speed limit's 35 and you're going 50, and a cop pulls you over and says, it's 35. And you're like, I was in a hurry. I never do this. It's nothing. And he goes, okay, just go ahead and go. Next time you're driving down the same street, same cop, you're still going 50, cop pulls you over, starts yelling at you, there's kids that live here. What's wrong with you? You told me you wouldn't do this anymore. And you're like, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. And the cop lets you go. And the third time you're driving down the street and the cop gives you a $5,000 ticket. And then you go home and you're talking to your neighbor.
Oh my God.
And your neighbor's like, I had the same situation, but I got a $200 ticket. How scary would the world be if the rules meant whatever mood the cop was in is what they could do? And a lot of times that's reactive parenting. That's what a lot of parents do. So the child doesn't know what is the expectation and what is the consequence of that expectation. Am I choosing to clean my room, or am I choosing to be grounded over the weekend? Am I choosing to go to bed at the time I'm supposed to go to bed, or am I choosing to go to bed an hour earlier the next day? Like, that's what you want to set up with your kids is, here is the rules or the expectations, and here is the consequence of that expectation. So you're guiding children. So in some ways you have to set up those parameters. So that's the force part.
Yeah.
But you want inside that box them to be able to choose. And at any rule or any expectation without a consequence is merely a suggestion. And that's where most people get it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that a good rule of thumb for parents is that if you are super, super frustrated and angry and you're just kind of shooting from the hip and being reactionary to your kid, you are in force.
You're the one that needs to change.
You are the one that needs to change, right? And you're not in that place of power, nor are you empowering your child as well.
Right. And, your kid's going to be upset if you are doing this right. And you have to be okay. You have to manage your own anxiety around other people, around your kids being uncomfortable when you're setting up those parameters. And if you can really think about why are you doing that? Are you trying to control your child or are you trying to empower your child? Because they're not going to like it. They're not going to I'd rather eat donuts for breakfast than, an omelet with vegetables in it or something. See, we're all like that, but we all need to learn that discipline piece. And as a parent, that's what you're trying to do.
We have to say hi to our granddaughter.
Oh, am I doing this?
Ainsley.
This means A in sign language. So I try to do this, but it looks like power to the people, which is not what it's intended to be.
No.
So hello, Ainsley.
And we have to say hi to Riverbend.
Yeah.
You guys out there, I know that you're like, where are you? You guys got goat kids now and you're not coming by. Well, don't worry. Okay.
We'll be there.
We'll be there.
And
we know what's going on over there.
And I'm gonna bring some cookies tomorrow. I might not bring them, but I will have them for you if I can't get over there because I have an event I have to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
cookies will be there. Okay.
Oh, and congrats to a lot of the candidates that were voted in. City Council, Hotchkiss Mayor, a lot of
at our elections.
A lot of different, great results in the elections. So congrats to everyone out there. We got to get back to our list here, right?
Yeah. So if you are in power, you're increasing your self-esteem. You feel good about yourself. You feel like you're managing your life and you're in power. And if you're in force, you do not feel good about yourself. You are in codependency.
You are. You're dependent on the reaction of the other person and what they're going to do and the choices they make.
Yep. And so your feelings are going to depend on what they do, which is never what you want. It's
a very powerless feeling. Using the word power, but it's powerless. I mean, you feel like you're not in control. You are in essence handing over your control, your emotional control over to the other person. And you're saying, please don't screw me over. Right.
And the cool thing about being in the place of power is it's respectful to everybody, and being in the place of force is disrespectful to everybody. So it's not just you. You're not like overpowering someone else. You're just empowering yourself, which empowers them. I was just talking to a client and we were talking about something she should do. And then she's like, oh, my husband should do it. And I'm like, well, let's let him decide that. And we all do that, right? We all do that because it would benefit us if people behaved a certain way. But that's really not the point. The point is to figure out yourself, not everybody else.
Yeah, I was talking to a client and, he was having issues with his son, and, his son is living at his place, house on his place. And he wants him to follow these rules.
Oh, the rules.
These rules that he has for his place. And, he said, I had a sit down conversation with him and I told him, this is what I would like you to do. And his son decided that he wasn't going to do that.
Oh. Imagine that.
And he was mad. He was like, what? Don't you think that he should be listening to me? In fact, I was very respectful in bringing it up to him. I said, well, you don't have control over that.
Yeah.
And having a conversation stating what it is that you feel and think and what you would like shouldn't come with expectations. That's just strings attached.
Yeah.
You're in essence saying that you don't really have a choice. This is what I want you to do.
Yeah. And if you are ever in a position before you make a decision, before you choose, you want to have that conversation first. You want to set up what those expectations are, and so does the other person. And then you come into an agreement, as opposed to I'm going to tell you what to do after the fact.
Don't get us wrong. Navigating this is really difficult, right? Relationships and human relationships are so complex, and most of the time, because emotions are involved. We are taking it personally because it is affecting us personally. So we have this invested interest in getting the other person to see our way, or to follow what we want them to do. Well, we don't have control over that. And this is what we're talking about here, is that balance between power and force, and being able to navigate that in our complex relationships.
And then you want to ask yourself, like, why does this hurt me? When someone else does something, why does this hurt me? Because that's your opportunity to heal something. And whenever we're in that vulnerable place, we actually give up our power because we don't want to tend to our own feelings.
Yeah.
And it is tricky business. It really is. And so, the last two things on the list is when you are in a place of power, it leads to happiness. It leads to freedom. You feel good about yourself. You have more confidence. And when you're in a place of force, of course,
you're worried,
anxiety,
you're
depression,
anxious about what they're going to do,
prison,
what they're not going to do. You feel stuck because you don't feel like you have much of a choice, because you've given that choice, and ultimately you've given your power over to the other person.
Absolutely.
Right. And
even your children.
Yes, even your children. And teenagers are absolutely amazing at this. They are amazing at trying to.
Well, that's their job. They're
balance.
Supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to figure things out,
that,
right? And as adults here, we're still trying to figure it out ourselves. I think that it's going to take probably our entire lives to figure this out. How to balance things.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And this concept is hopefully very useful for your life. I know it is for mine. I'm always making sure I'm trying to get to the right side of this equation, and hopefully you guys benefit from that.
Again, like, if you wanted to watch any of our past episodes, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is maintaining all of the episodes, in a static way. We have to figure out Facebook and how to make sure that they stay static.
And what's the name of the YouTube channel?
It is KBH Center. So you just go to YouTube and just look up KBH Center, and you can get to all of the other past episodes. You can rewatch this one too. And remember, this podcast is about opening up a conversation and a dialogue about mental health. We are going to be starting more interviews. We had an interview with Mariah, who is in charge of the chamber,
executive director of the
Chamber of Commerce. But we will be also going on location and doing more interviews with people in the community. So in line with starting conversations about mental health, keep talking out there, Delta County.
Keep talking out there. Have a great week.